Hey folks, time for listening. Sorry, I love this shirt. It says eat, sleep, but I don't love this. Show you my fat belly. Knit, repeat. And it was a gift from a famous now dyer. I knew her before she got all, you know, she's on up there. And I forget her name now. It's Jen Tolley or something like that. Fabulous gal. Chapter 3, Home of Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison's house, I hate that. That's going to look real good too, right? Was an old-fashioned, low, white-plastered building with a thick spruce forest behind it. Fix this. I'm sitting on it, so big old tail. Y'all, my foot that I injured, it's not too good. We're trying to pull up something you're sitting on without getting up. Oh, the struggle is real. A lot of stuff like this happened to me. Could be worse. Could always be worse. Y'all, it's hot out there, but it's right chilly in here. Y'all know I got the AC going. But I don't go crazy with it and put it way down. It's on like 73. Let's get back to reading, shall we? I'm going to start over. Mr. Harrison's house was an old-fashioned, low, white-plastered building with a thick spruce forest behind it. Mr. Harrison himself sat on his porch surrounded by vines. That's what I tripped on yesterday. It's all swollen today. Not the vines, my foot. He was wearing his shirt sleeves and was just drawing his evening smoke from his barrel. When he found out who was coming up the path, he popped up from the bench, escaped to the saloon, and slammed the door behind him. This behavior was just an expression of an unpleasant surprise, accompanied by a good dose of shame over his fierce outburst yesterday, but it suddenly deprived the little remnant of courage that remained in Anna's heart. If he already has about a cranky, then what else is monitored? When he gets to hear what I've done, thought Anna, half desperate. Then she knocked on the door. However, Mr. Harrison came to open, smiled in embarrassment, and asked him to come in with a voice that was quiet and complacent, though a little nervous. He had dropped his chimney and he had put on the wheat. I don't get this. What is he talking about? Maybe his pipe, because he was talking about smoking. Dropped his chimney. Put on his weep, W-E-E-P. Now he offered Anna and he said, ask him to come in. This is messing me up. Her to come in. Offered Anna a very dusty chair very politely, and the reception would have made an absolute pleasant impression if it had not been for the chattering parrot peeking through the iron lattices with his wicked golden eyes. Anna barely had time to sit down before the bird, opened her beak and shouted, "What does that cam in the name of the Lord have to do here?" It was not easy to decide which face was redder, Mr. Harrison's or Anna's. "Don't care about the parrot," Mr. Harrison said, glaring at Ginger. It doesn't understand better. I got it from my brother, who is a sailor. Sailors don't always use the finest language, and parrots are so bad at imitating. "Yes, I understand that," said Anna. Anna Parka. Who's Anna Parka? who was in great pain thinking about her case. The parrot was rude, there was no doubt about it, but did not pay the effort to play the offended. If you have just sold a stranger's cow without knowing this or giving your consent, then you should be taken for granted if his parrot says some less flattering things. However, the beaked pike was not as toned and temperate as he otherwise could have been. "I've come to speak to you about something, Mr. Harrison," he said resolutely. It concerns that Jersey cow." "Come on," Mr. Harrison exclaimed in agony. "Has it gone to my oats again? Well. It's not that dangerous if it happened to do it. I guess I was a little angry yesterday, I have to admit." "Does nothing if it has done it. I wish it was just that," Anna sighed. "But this is 10 times worse, I don't think. Come on, probably it didn't go to my wheat field." No, not wheat. "But then it's gone to the cabbage land. It is eaten in my mouth plush." "Some kind of cabbage. Kalinka puny?" This is not going well. All the time I'm going to the show, you have to take it too." "It's not cabbage, Mr. Harrison. I'll tell you, I'll calm. This was why I came here. But please do not interrupt me. It makes me so nervous. Let me tell you what I have to say and keep mum until I stop. Then, yes, you are talking about your mouth clean, I suppose." Anna stopped, but after all, just thoughts. "Well, now, I'm just listening," said Mr. Harrison. He really kept his word, but the ginger did not see any promise of silence binding him, but intervened in Panoma's speech with the beaked pike with shouts until Anna felt very confused and unhappy. "Yesterday, I closed our Jersey cow in a pen where we used to milk. In the morning, I went to Carmody and when I drove back, I saw a light brown cow in your oats. Diana and I hurried it away, and you can't imagine what work it was. I was so terribly tired and dead and wet and angry. And at the same time, Mr. Shearer was driving past and offered to buy a cow. I sold it on the spot to him for $20. That's what I did wrong. Naturally, I should have waited and negotiated with Marilla, but I'm so terribly inclined to," and it's some word that looks Dutch or German. I'm not about to try. "It knows all who know me. Mr. Shearer took the cow immediately, says to transmit it to the evening train." "Beak pike," said Ginger in a deeply contemptuous voice, which I didn't say it in. Then Mr. Harrison got up, and a look on his face that would have frightened every bird except the parrot. He carried the ginger onto the next room next to the cage and closed the door. The ginger howled, whimpered, and Manasseh, and behaved in a way that was perfectly in keeping with its reputation. But noticing that he was alone, it sank into silence. "I'm sorry. Keep going," said Mr. Harrison, and sat down. "My sailor brother never made that bird behave like humans." I drove home, and after drinking tea, I went to the cattle barn. "Mr. Harrison," Anna leaned forward and crossed her arms in her former childish way, while her large gray eyes looked prayerfully on Mr. Harrison's unconscious face. "My own cow stood in the pen. The cow I sold to the cattle dealer was yours." "Come on," exclaimed Mr. Harrison, overwhelmed at this unimaginable end. "That was a wonderful case." "Oh, there's nothing miraculous about me causing boredom for myself and other people," Anne said humbly. I'm a well-known fact. I guess I should have assumed I should have gotten away with it at this age, but don't think so. Mr. Harrison, is it too daring to hope that you will forgive me? I'm afraid it won't head over again to get your cow back, and here's at least the price for you. Or you could take my cow instead if you prefer. It's really a great cow, and I cannot tell you, interpret how sorry, this is messed up, how sorry I am about all this. Well, little miss, don't talk about it anymore, Mr. Harrison said kindly. It means nothing, nothing at all. When there is an accident to come, then I also hurried quite often. I do, and talk about what I later regret, but I can't do anything about it, and people get to consider me as I am. Yeah, I'm just saying that if that damn cow had been in my show cabbage, but it wasn't there, so no harm has happened. Thank you. Yes, I'll take your cow instead because you both want to get rid of it. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. I'm so glad you're not in anger. I was very afraid you would be angry. And I guess you were terribly scared when you had to come here and tell me about it after all the noise I raised yesterday, wasn't it? But you shouldn't care so much about my work and actions. I have an old vixen, you see, and reveal the truth. That's my motto. Even if it is a little, crazy word, other people's ears. Mrs. Lynde also always tells the truth, said Anna, before she had time to weigh her words. Who? Mrs. Lynde. I guess you're not going to compare me to that language clock in the eternal world, said Mr. Harrison angrily. He and I think I got a bad copy or something. This is a different copy. Only because I couldn't get the other one to come up. Can't be mentioned on the same day. What's in the box? Cake, said Anna cunningly. Delighted by Mr. Harrison's unexpected benevolence, he felt his vitality recover quickly. I have taken it with me to you. I thought that you might not be very often. Kukua? No, of course it's true, but I am very fond of whatever that is. I guess it's the cake. I really say the sweetest thanks. It looks good on the lookout. Hopefully it's the same throughout. What a good treat. It must be good, said Anna with a happy self-confidence. I bake, two crazy words, which were not good. It may prove, Mrs. Allen, but this relationship is not any danger. I actually did it for the Society for the Healing of Society, but I could make a new one for it. But the little girl has to help me eat it. I'll put the pot on the fire to get a cup of tea. Would you like it? Talking about Anna having some. Can I put some tea? Anna asked cautiously. Mr. Harrison laughed in good spirits. I find you don't have much confidence in my tea-making ability, but there you are wrong. I make as good tea as you have drunk. But just get access now. Luckily, it rained last Sunday, so we have plenty of dishes washed clean. Anna got up and took immediate action. She was probably worried about getting some dirty, nasty mess. Anna got up and took immediate action. He rinsed the teapot in many waters before putting tea in. He then swept the brush with the stove and covered the table. Cups and plates he fetched from the tank. The state of this tank terrified him, but wisely he did keep his mouth shut. Mr. Harrison showed him where to get bread. Who are these people? Butter and a jar of peach jam. Showed her. Anna decorated the plate with a bouquet of flowers she picked from the garden and did not see the stain on the tablecloth. Soon the tea was ready, and Anna found herself sitting opposite Mr. Harrison at his own table. Somebody did not edit this. Anna poured him tea. I'm so sorry about this, y'all. And rushed with him effortlessly from school. If my foot weren't hurt, I'd go get my phone I didn't bring in here. Always do, but it's about dead, so it's on the charger. Anna poured him tea and rushed with him effortlessly from school, his good friends, and his plans for the future. He could hardly believe the testimony of his own senses. Mr. Harrison had brought the ginger back in, saying the reason that's the bird. The bird Parka was terribly bored. Anna, who felt she could forgive everything and anything at the moment, offered her a piece of sugar dipped in cream. But Ginger's feelings had been deeply offended, and it repelled all attempts at reproachment. It sat acutely and injured on its nostrils and fluttered its feathers until it looked like a very large ball of green and gold. "Why do you call it Ginger?" wondered Anna, who liked names that mattered, and who thought ginger was inconsistent with the color of its baskets. "My sailor brother gave it that name. He was always so enamored with the ginger jams stored in small jars. That bird is not so indifferent to me, you may believe it. It naturally has its flaws. I've had to swallow quite a lot of trouble, therefore, but I'll take it calmly. Some offended by the fact that it swears, but I've not been able to get acclimated to it, to make it stop. I have tried, and other people as well. A few have prejudices against parrots. That's idiotic. I like them. I have a lot to follow about Ginger. Nothing could make me give up that bird. Nothing in the world, good miss." Mr. Harrison hurled the last sentence as fiercely as if he suspected Anna had some secret intentions to betray the ginger from him. But Anna had started to like the little weird hubby. Oh, Lord, y'all. It's the strangest chapter I've ever read. That was so hard to stay together towards, and before the tea drinking was over, they were really good friends. We get the main gist, though. Mr. Harrison became more familiar with the Society of the Improvement of Society and seemed inclined to give its approval. "It's worth hearing. Just keep going. Indeed, little improvement is needed everywhere in this society among people as well." "Oh, I don't know," Anna said quickly. Yes, he could admit to himself or to his closest friends that Avonlea and its inhabitants had small imperfections that were otherwise, of course, inherently easy to remove. But it was another to hear a foreign parishioner who had moved to the area, such as husband Harrison, sitting in that statement criticizing opinions. "I think Avonlea is a charming place, and the people are terribly pleasant and fun," he said, somewhat emphatically. "Wow, I think there's some pepper in there, too," said Mr. Harrison, glancing at the fiery cheeks and the reproachful eyes opposite. "It's definitely a hair color. Of all the Mokomin, Mokomin, Avonlea is a pretty good place, otherwise I wouldn't have settled here, but is it true that you two must admit that it is hampered by a few mistakes?" "They just make me like it more," said loyal Anne. "I don't like places or people who have no flaws. A perfectly flawless person is probably terribly missed. Mrs. White says she's never met a flawless man, but has heard enough of one such thing, her husband's first wife. Don't you think it would be very unfortunate to be married to a man whose first wife would have been exemplary in every respect? It would be even more intolerable to be married to that flawless model wife," exclaimed Mr. Harrison, suddenly showing such fervor that it seemed quite difficult to understand. Tea to drink, Anna asked to be allowed to wash the cups and plates, although Mr. Harrison assured her, that he still got along for several weeks without washing the dishes. He would have preferred to sweep the the entire floor, but the broom was nowhere to be seen, and she did not want to ask where it was held. It could have happened that it didn't even exist. "It's fun if you come in every now and then to talk," said Mr. Harrison, saying goodbye to Anna. I'm going to have to read this chapter again from a different book. As a fatter of Mac, I'm going to stop right there. I've gone through a little more than 20 minutes of this craziness. And I'll die if the other one's like this too. That's messed up. Jacked up. Oh, Lordy. Tea at 3 today. Hope to see you there. Bring your friends and neighbors and your mom and dad and kids, and well, maybe not kids unless they're over 18. Not that we do anything that, but it's just a YT thing. Anyway, love ya. Mwah. And everything's in front of my sign. Diego's lying down on the job. And I forgot what I named this one. I got a squirrel bag coming for my 2K if I ever get there. So, be sweet and don't be ugly. Bye-bye. Love ya.